Hi, my name is Tim Anderson with EBCA Martial Arts. So, kind of giving on this topic here is training method, and we'll take maybe a technique and show how we're trying to train that technique. So, the concept or the understanding of whatever we're going to train is going to be more into the fact of just kind of doing. And the reason why we come to this understanding is that um, I'll talk about later on how it came to getting a lot of this information. But for the most part, here's just a kind of an understanding about it. When you're practicing an A, say a capital A, you don't take from the point of the paper and come down. You don't repeat that line over and over again when you're writing the pencil to get muscle memory to do that first line, to then go to the second line, then to go to the third line. What you do is you'll practice the whole entire A just so you can get the general understanding on how to write an A, and then you're immediately putting it into sentence. You're using it as practice, and you're putting it into different things, cat and bat. You're using it constantly through it, lowercase and uppercase. This depends on what's going on, and this what helps develop through that structural sentence and all that kind of stuff on developing that A in that sense too. So the point is, you're just not going and repeating the same process. So we don't want to do that exact same thing. We want to try to build certain techniques and skills in a concept, gross mechanic understanding first before we fine tune it. Coming back to the A is that you don't, to write your sentence or whatever you're doing, you don't try to do every single letter top of the paper, coming down, a quarter inch off the line, the other one coming down. They need to be a quarter inch between the two legs, and then you're not doing that to do it for every single letter. You're writing it out, getting used to writing the general concept of what that letter's showing how to be developed. Same thing with our tools. So when we look at different systems, we're screening it through the very first understanding. There's three different levels to go through it, but the first level is just concept-based understanding. What is it teaching me in that understanding of just a gross mechanic thing to do? So we can take any system. So let's take one that we've dabbled in and stuff like that a lot. Would be say Wing Chun stuff. So Wing Chun, they have a thing that's called they call it Pak Sao. All that means is slapping hand. So throw away all the other shit with it and just say it's a slapping hand. So what stuff kind of represents kind of that understanding? Well, you have parries, or you like mitt work, stuff like that, showing you having the hands coming up. They talk about elbows in and hands out. So we'll do this in a gross mechanic way of saying that, okay, one of their concept is having hands up, which is universal, and elbows in, which some of those, for a lot of systems, it's universal in the sense too. And then they talk about center line and 45. So now we haven't gotten into any techniques, we're just kind of having structure of body where it needs to be. So with this understanding is that when they talk about center line is down, they're talking with elbow in, and they want a high reference, so they don't want hands down below the chin. They want it up high, which is understandable, okay? And then they're going to have it out more towards a 45. And so you're coming center line and coming through. So when someone's going to come just directly down the pipe to hit you just into this little frame here, to hit right in the face, you're going to come down the line. Now you have curve punches and different shit like that, but for the most part, you're going to throw straight shots down the pipe. So all it's saying is, okay, gross mechanic is, don't worry about trying to slap their hands, just get that out in front. Boom, there's that, boom, boom. That's it. So we take that, nothing else to it, and we try to spar with it. Okay, some guy's coming down the pipe, coming through, snapping across. Can I just throw one of them out there? Let him hit my forearm. What happens? Does it slide by? Does it drift off? Can I hold my line? What's going on with it? And so with this, having sparring partners that understand what you're trying to do, they're not going to give it to you. They're going to try to do what they can to hit you down that pipe. So then you're not going to kill each other. They're not going to try to just tank off and coming at it. What you're going to do is you're going to play in enough light enough way where you still feel safe enough where you can try these things. And you may get dinked in the face or hit a couple different times, but it's not something that's going to be like, you know, you're not going to break your nose or lose a tooth or get knocked out. It's something to keep you on the edge where you have to develop that skill underneath a stressful environment. Once that gets understood and you start getting the concept and you can start applying it in real sparring just down in the center, then we may add, okay, can you go from the forearm just to the hands? Can you, with the boxing gloves out, can you flare open the glove and just kind of pock or say use like mitt work understanding, mitt the hands when he's throwing them through. And if you could do that, then we start going finer with it. Are your elbows in? What they're talking about having the elbows in. To go to the MMA gloves, see how that feels. Go with the out gloves, see how that feels. It's just a progression, and you build off of that. And then they have chain punches, so you're not doing stuff in a traditional where everything has to be by the book, elbow in, everything be perfect. It's like, okay, the understanding is this. This is the box that we have to stay with inside of this understanding. Once we stay inside that understanding, we can refine it better. But then if we're trying to go from something that's refined and then put chaos to it, then that refinedness disappears. Or it takes extremely long amount of time to refine that in such a way, that little pebble to become a pearl to be able to use properly. What we're trying to do is just pick up a bunch of stones as much as we can to throw them and have them be effective. So giving that understanding, that's what the experience-based conceptual application is. Can you apply the concept of something first in live application? This guy's coming down the pipe and he wants to hit me in the face. That's it. And then you do that with every single technique. You try to find out what that technique was used for, or what the concept for it is, not just the mechanics of it. And then once you get that understanding, then that framework of the freedom that you can use it with opens up. You don't have to have perfect technique. You can strive for that, but you don't have to have that in the beginning. So when you take those first year students, when they're at that white belt stage, because they stay white belt for a whole year, and they got to fight or spar, 1 to 2 to 3, at least 3, 1 to 2 is good, 3 times better, 5, 6 times a week is great, roughly in 6 to 10 rounds apiece in each day. That's good. That's enough time to develop how your body's going to move. Then you're adding footwork into it. How can your posturing, are you upright, hands down, foot, feet. And I'll talk about all this stuff, and I'll talk about, kind of like the science behind that type of training as well, and where we got information and top athletes that use that type of training that's enhanced them to get to the next level a lot faster. So hopefully this might help you out. Understanding your concept first. Don't do repetition like what we used to always been taught. 10,000 times on each side. It's like, no. Figure out what it's trying to tell you and go out and try to accomplish it, and then refine through the fire. All right. Thank you.